Three more Republicans entering the 2024 White House race this week, but each candidate faces one major hurdle: how to differentiate themselves from former President Donald Trump.
Yeah, how do they carve out a lane? What is their path? So let's go off the wall to take a look at some of the different strategies. So, Will, this is the array of candidates, which a lot of people argue benefits the man in the middle here. The more candidates get into the race, reflect a diluting of votes for anyone other than Donald Trump. And a lot of folks believe more candidates in the race have been because of the weakness of the candidacy of Ron DeSantis, creating an opportunity for someone else to carry that second lane.
Well, this is how the field sits today, and it's set to probably get even bigger as soon as this week, with rumors swirling around Miami Mayor Francis Suarez. So that's the field as it stands today. Let's zoom in on a couple of the candidates who actually appeared this week on Fox and Friends and see what might be their path. We'll start with Chris Christie. Chris Christie so far seems to be the man, Pete, who is going to be the most aggressive in taking on Donald Trump. His path, he thinks, is battle.
Yes, it's the anti-Trump path. It is the take on Trump directly in the hopes of getting enough of a percentage to be on the debate stage. And when you listen to his campaign, that's where they want to land by. The Fox debate in August is on that stage. He's not as conservative as some of the other candidates, supporting funding in Ukraine, which is not something President Trump has been supportive of. Here he is, as you mentioned, on Fox and Friends this week on Thursday.
After Donald Trump's win in 2016, which I was a large part of, we haven't been able to win anything since then. Why do you have to be the center of negative attention all the time? Why do you have to be angry all the time?
So
that's that place.
Chris Christie. We'll see, if head-to-head battle is the lane for Chris Christie. Meanwhile, there is Mike Pence, former President Trump's vice president. Pence is laying out a case of both evangelical conservatism and, I would say, Pete, congeniality. He seems to be taking a path of peace, of respectability, of quiet dignity. Seems to be the image that he's going to run on.
Kind of the guy that he is, right? And he's the one candidate the field could say, if you liked, other than Donald Trump, who will take and receive that credit for the most part, hey, I was a part of those 4 years. If you liked them, I'm the kind of guy that could do it as well. He was on Fox and Friends on Thursday. Here's him, as well as Kayleigh McEnany, weighing in on his candidacy. Watch.
I'm also running because, frankly, I see my former running mate and others in this field walking away from what has been the timeless conservative agenda of the Republican Party.
What? He's the only candidate other than Trump that can say, do you remember those 4 years where we had economic prosperity? Well, I was there beside the president, helping to guide the way there. He can also say, arguably, I'm the most seasoned candidate in the race.
You see what Pence said at the end. He says Trump's walking away from the America First agenda. It's one of a few ways in which the candidates are trying to differentiate themselves. Like, if you were there for 4 years, and January 6th happened, but set that aside, how do you create a lane that is different than the guy who redefined the Republican Party? He looks like a front runner on paper, but the polling right now shows him at 4%.
He seems to think there's some divide he can draw between the positive aspects of the America First agenda and the negativity in his picture of Donald Trump's personality. Right. It doesn't resonate as of yet. And for that matter, none of these candidates, poll numbers suggest that anything yet is significantly registering. But we'll see what their path is forward. And let's move on now to Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley, former governor of South Carolina, emphasizes her background, daughter of 2 Indian immigrants. And she has been one of the hawks. Really, honestly, they all are. Mm-hmm. The hawks on the world stage when it comes to war.
Young, female, minority, was also in the administration. She was the UN ambassador, had some pretty prolific moments there, just not far from here at the UN. So you can see, again, on paper, a lot of the upside for her candidacy. But again, like the other candidates, hasn't gained much traction. Here she is on Fox and Friends on Monday.
We need someone with new experience, new solutions that's really going to get the job done. Americans are tired. They're tired. They want government that's going to work for them. They want to stop all the chaos, stop the negativity, stop the baggage, and actually watch government get things done.
Also with Nikki Haley, there were a few moments under Trump when, those moments when, do you jump off the ship? And she jumped off the ship and then tried to get back on, and people were skepticism. Well, if you bail when things are tough, where will you be when things remain tough?
I mentioned that almost all of the candidates, in fact, maybe all of the candidates, pretty hawkish, for example, in support of the war in Ukraine, except for one, and that is now Governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis. DeSantis has attempted to distinguish himself on his record and his rhetoric as, quite honestly, I think it's very fair, Pete, to say he is perhaps the furthest right candidate in the field when it comes to policy. And he would even distinguish himself from President Trump in that regard. He would point to taking on Disney. He has staked out positions that the others have said, ooh, I don't think that's good politically, including on Ukraine.
That's right. He's governed in Florida in a very conservative way. But his problem has, yet again, like everybody else, how do I critique Trump while embracing Trump? His argument has been the Trump without the drama, yet there's been plenty of drama in Florida. And he's had trouble doing that, whether it was Ukraine, where he was hawkish, but then not hawkish as well. How do you manage, even this last week, this clip is not from Fox and Friends or Fox, because he hasn't been very public talking about the indictment. Sure, there was a tweet. But again, a lot of these candidates are believing or hoping that it's an indictment or a problem for Trump that opens up the campaign for them. That's why you see such a big pool. It's a tough spot for Ron DeSantis. He was at the border. Here's a part of what he talked about.
This country is falling on its face with respect to ensuring the sovereignty of our country. And you see the damage that's been done at the southern border. We've been hearing about this problem for many, many years, many decades, and yet it's probably as bad as it's ever been right now. I think that this has been a massive dereliction of duty by the president.
So Ron DeSantis will intend to run on his record in Florida. Meanwhile, finally, there's Tim Scott. Of those we're going to focus in on today, Tim Scott appearing on Fox this week. He's going to run on his background. He is the only black Republican senator. He has a unifying message. He definitely wants to bring everybody together. He's an inspirational figure who has a message that I think of positivity. In fact, he took it to The View on ABC, and I think forwarded that message very well in the face of negativity.
He's been aspirational, Reagan-esque, optimistic. It was interesting to see when he got in the race. He's one of the few candidates that Donald Trump did not attack when he did get in the race, raising some speculation that should he not become the nominee, he'd be a good vice presidential pick as well. Here's Tim Scott on America's Newsroom on Tuesday.
Everybody has an opportunity to run, and they should run. What I'm going to focus on is the fact that America can do for anyone what she has done for me. How you can be optimistic, positive, and yet a strong-willed conservative. That message, I believe, will continue to resonate.
Do you think he says beating Trump is more important than anything. Do you agree?
I think beating Biden is more important than anything else.
There you go.
There you go. We'll see. In any other cycle, a lot of these candidates are on paper, right there at the front.
No doubt about it.
Drawing from a Republican base. It's just a different time.
Hey, look, a lot of these candidates, from Tim Scott to Ron DeSantis, very impressive candidates. The problem is, for them, as we started this segment and as we will see in the coming months, is finding that pathway, finding that lane in a race against Donald Trump.
When there's an immovable object in front of you, how do you deal with it? It's tough as a candidacy.